Everyone has tried dieting at least once in their life, or at the very least, they've felt guilty while eating something they probably shouldn't have. The problem is that the diet industry is worth hundreds of billions of dollars, and it keeps itself alive by making everything look more complicated than it actually needs to be. Every year, there's a new diet, new rules, and new foods suddenly presented as if they came straight from heaven as a miracle. Matcha tea, avocados, chia seeds, new foods that are suddenly marketed as miracles. Today we're going to break all of that down. The most talked about diets, what they actually do, who they benefit, and at the end of the video, a summary of which one a regular person who simply wants to look better should actually follow. Calorie counting. Let's start with the foundation, because everything else is built on top of this. Calorie counting means tracking how much energy you consume and making sure it is lower than the amount your body burns. No forbidden foods, no specific meal timing rules, just numbers. The reason this works is because it directly targets the real mechanism behind fat loss. You cannot lose fat without a calorie deficit. Every diet that has ever worked has created a calorie deficit in one way or another. Some do it by removing certain food groups. Some do it by changing meal timing. Some do it by keeping you full with high-volume, low-calorie foods. But they all lead to the same place. Calorie counting simply shows this mechanism clearly instead of hiding it behind rules. The downside is that it requires tracking. Many people find this boring and can't sustain it long term. It also treats all calories as equal, which is not completely accurate. Protein calories behave differently from fat or carbohydrate calories when it comes to satiety and muscle preservation. But if you're looking for a foundation to understand fat loss, there is no more honest or accurate method than knowing your numbers. Ketogenic diet. The ketogenic diet is one of the most controversial diets out there. People either worship it or treat it like a dangerous cult. The truth is more complicated than both sides admit. The keto diet means getting roughly 70 to 75% of your calories from fat, 20 to 25% from protein, and less than 5% from carbohydrates. Usually, carbohydrate intake is kept below 50 grams per day. This puts your body into a metabolic state called ketosis. When there are not enough carbohydrates available, your liver starts converting fat into ketone bodies, and your brain and muscles use those instead of glucose as fuel. So in a way, your body starts burning fat. The initial weight loss on keto is real, but most of it is water. Carbohydrates cause your body to store glycogen, and every gram of glycogen holds roughly 3 grams of water. When you empty your glycogen stores, you lose that water quickly as well. That's why you can see unbelievable results on the scale during the first 1 or 2 weeks. But most of that loss is not fat, it's water. Long term, keto can genuinely lead to fat loss, because it often creates a calorie deficit. The reason is that fats are quite filling, and cutting carbohydrates usually removes many high-calorie foods from your diet. However, there is an important downside for athletes and people who lift weights. Carbohydrates are the main fuel source for high-intensity exercise. In ketosis, explosive movements, heavy lifting, and maintaining high-intensity training become much harder. Especially during the adaptation period, performance can drop significantly, and that process can take weeks. If your only goal is fat loss, keto can work, but if you train hard and also want to preserve or build muscle, you are making the process unnecessarily harder. Intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting is not really a traditional diet. It doesn't tell you what to eat, it tells you when to eat. The most common method is the 16-to-8 model. That means you fast for 16 hours and eat your meals within an 8-hour window. There is also the 18-to-6 method, 1 meal a day, and the 5-to-2 method, where you eat normally 5 days a week and eat around 500 calories on 2 days. The main reason intermittent fasting causes fat loss is calorie reduction. When you remove breakfast and narrow your eating window, most people naturally consume fewer calories. This is not magic, it's simply portion control, limited by time. Some research suggests that there may be benefits beyond calorie reduction, such as improved insulin sensitivity and increased cellular repair processes during fasting periods. These benefits are real, but in healthy individuals they are usually quite limited. For athletes, there is a practical downside. Training completely fasted can negatively affect performance and recovery. This is especially noticeable in strength training. If your workout falls outside your limited eating window, you can't get protein because you can't eat, and post-workout muscle protein synthesis gets delayed. The biggest advantage of intermittent fasting is simplicity. If skipping breakfast doesn't bother you and naturally reduces your total calorie intake, it can be a great tool. But if you feel like you're starving all day and you're just waiting for your eating window to open, it's probably not the right fit for you. Zero Carb and Carnivore Diet. Zero Carb and the Carnivore Diet are basically keto taken to the extreme. No plants, no grains, no vegetables, only animal products, meat, fish, eggs, and in some cases dairy. That's the entire diet. People who support the carnivore diet claim major improvements in energy levels, mental clarity, inflammation, autoimmune issues, and body composition. Scientific research on this diet is still limited because it is a relatively new approach, and studying its long-term effects is difficult. What we do know is this: the fat loss mechanism is the same as keto, but the carbohydrate restriction is even stricter. Also, the satiety effect created by a diet based mostly on protein and fat is genuinely strong. Protein is the most filling macronutrient. That's why a diet built mostly around protein and fat causes many people to naturally eat fewer calories. However, there are still unanswered questions about cardiovascular health, gut microbiome diversity, and long-term micronutrient adequacy. For an average person who just wants to lose fat and feel better, carnivore is a very extreme approach. It can produce incredible results for some people, but it requires serious discipline and regular blood tests. Water diet and extended fasting. This needs to be addressed specifically because it constantly shows up and sounds very attractive to people who want fast results. Extended water fasting means consuming only water for periods starting from 24 hours and lasting for days or even weeks. The weight loss is real and very fast. The problem is what you are actually losing. When you fast for a long time, your body loses water and glycogen. After roughly 24 to 48 hours, it starts breaking down muscle tissue to maintain essential bodily processes. In other words, you literally start eating your own muscles. For someone who trains and wants to build muscle, extended fasting is one of the most inefficient things you can do. Short fasts of 16 to 24 hours are a different topic, and there is scientific support behind them. But water fasts lasting for days destroy the muscle mass you worked hard to build, slow down your metabolism, and the moment you return to normal eating, the weight comes back. Mediterranean diet. The Mediterranean diet might be the most boring option on this list, but it also has the strongest long-term scientific evidence behind it. It is built around vegetables, fruits, legumes, whole grains, fish, olive oil, and moderate amounts of dairy products and lean meats. It limits processed foods, refined sugars, and red meat. It does not completely ban any food group. It does not have a strict calorie target. It is not designed for rapid weight loss. However, decades of research show that people who follow a Mediterranean-style diet have a lower risk of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, certain cancers, and obesity. For fat loss, it works through higher quality food choices, greater satiety thanks to its high fiber content, and the natural reduction of processed, high-calorie foods. It is not the fastest diet for losing weight, but it is one of the rare diets people can maintain for years, and that makes it extremely powerful in real life. High-protein diet. A high-protein diet is technically not the name of a specific diet, but it deserves its own section, because the scientific evidence behind it is stronger than many named diets, especially for people who train. Protein is the most filling macronutrient per calorie. It also has the highest thermic effect. That means your body burns more calories digesting protein compared to fat and carbohydrates. It helps preserve and even build muscle mass during a calorie deficit. It suppresses hunger more effectively than carbohydrates and fats. Research shows that people who increase their protein intake naturally reduce their total calorie consumption without even deliberately trying, because they get full faster and stay full longer. For someone who lifts weights and wants to lose fat without losing muscle, a high-protein diet, combined with a reasonable calorie deficit, is the strongest science-backed approach we have. Aim for around 1.8 to 2.5 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. Fill the remaining calories with whichever combination of carbohydrates and fats is most sustainable for you. If we summarize all these diets we talked about, water fasting and extended fasting deliver fast results, but they cause muscle loss, slow down your metabolism, and the moment you return to normal eating, the results come back. Zero carb and the carnivore diet can work very well for some people, but they are extremely restrictive from a lifestyle perspective, and there are still unanswered questions about their long-term effects. They are worth knowing about, but they should not be the starting point for most people. The keto diet for athletes can genuinely hurt training performance and muscle growth. If you lift weights regularly, keto may be working against your long-term goals. Keto for sedentary people can be an effective fat loss tool for individuals who do not exercise intensely. It is very filling, removes high-calorie processed foods from your diet, and can produce real results. Intermittent fasting is a simple and effective method. However, its main mechanism is calorie reduction, and it does not work very well if your training sessions fall outside your eating window. Calorie counting is honest, flexible, and educational. It directly targets the real mechanism of fat loss, which is creating a calorie deficit. Its only downside is that it can be difficult to sustain long-term and requires constant tracking. But once you establish a certain routine, you can apply it much more easily. The Mediterranean diet has the strongest scientific support for long-term health and is highly sustainable. It does not ban any food group. Most people can follow it for years. But among all of these, the best option is a high-protein diet within a calorie deficit. It preserves muscle mass and naturally reduces hunger. It has the strongest scientific evidence we have for body composition. Whether you prefer low carb or high carb, this approach works either way. Most successful diets, either accidentally or intentionally, increase protein intake. This approach does it on purpose. For an average person who trains, this is the answer. In the next video, we'll cover the most popular bodybuilding myths. There are many things among them that all of us believe to be true. You don't want to miss that video. So leave a like on this video, share your thoughts in the comments, subscribe to the channel, and wait for the next one. See you soon.